When did you realize your friends were actually fake friends? Went to pick up my SBA multiply 360 a friend was borrowing, and a whole group of friends were there. They had spent the entire day playing games with snacks and pizza, and I had not been invited, and now I was in the situation of being the douche who takes the bull home and ruins the fun for everyone. I took my sparks and never spoke to anyone in that group again. Back in my first year of college, I used to have a group of friends like 7 dudes with me included. We always hang out together, and we are used to have this group chat where we discuss about anything from class subjects to random things. After a year, I noticed that one of the guys, let's just call him Randy, keeps getting excluded, not invited, informed to group hangout while they are talking smack behind his back, and the unofficial leader of the group actually made a whole new group chat, inviting everyone, myself included, except Randy, without his knowledge. I know what it feels to be left out. I experienced that in middle school, and it's really awful. I stopped hanging out with them, and I starts hanging out with Randy. He's quite eccentric, but a very good person at heart. We've been friends for more than 6 years, and he still got my back. When I slowly realized I was only around for chores and errands, rides to the airport, pick up furniture, help move, anything social, always resulted in either last minute cancellations, showing up 45 minutes late, and bolting after 10 minutes. I thought they were busy, but no. They stopped inviting me to hang out. They would ask me to drive them to parties, but not invite me to go to the parties. They basically ghosted me for a while. They were once such amazing and important friends, but they gradually became really arrogant. It took a way longer than it should have to give up and find other people. Was once told I'm trying to hang out with my real friends. It was an oof. Whenever we were supposed to hang out, something came up, and that something was hanging out with other mutual friends. When I was babysitting her kids, things were going great. We would hang out all the time, have movie nights and just talk and chill. But the second she no longer needed a babysitter was the second I got kicked to the curb. No explanation. Not even a text back. Some people will act like your best friend until they no longer need you. They're lost though. When I returned to work, after being off for 3 months due to an injury, and I practically begged them to go grab a beer and do pub trivia, but all 3 of them passed because they had plans. Well, it turns out their plans were to go grab a beer and do pub trivia without me. Found out through social media. Deleted it shortly afterwards. I've been a lot less depressed about things since I've deleted social media and stopped looking at them as friends and just as work acquaintances. It took that for me to realize that the friendships were really one-sided, and I'm better off not pursuing anything other than being cordial at work. When I was in school, all my friends and I did different A-levels. Despite us all having different lessons to each other, they would wait for each other to go to lunch together, but they would always forget me. Like I'd come out and they wouldn't be there, so I'd have lunch by myself, and then they'd come back and tell me they thought I was with them. I was the only one they didn't wait for. I've only seen one of them since we left school. She had forgotten my name, so that sucked. When my phone got stolen and I lost their phone numbers, mine stayed the same, but we just never talked again. When I traded in my truck for a smaller, more eco-friendly vehicle, communication plummeted now that I can't haul furniture around, assist with moving as much, dispose of garbage, etc. When they stopped contacting me, when I stopped drinking. I feel this. Used to have countless friends. Went out all the time. Lost control of myself and quit. Friends stopped calling. Now I'm a weird eccentric who hangs out in the woods in all my free time. Things are better this way. I have a couple friends who stuck around, and the girl of my dreams. That's all I need. I was invited to the bachelorette party for one of the friends in this group. While at the party, I figured out that I was the only person not invited to the wedding. I had been invited to the party because they needed another person to chip in for expenses. when I went through a divorce and was down to 700. Most difficult period, and weeded out all those who friended me for my generosity because I was well settled. Started over and have like 2 true good friends. I flew out to support a friend going through a messy divorce. While I was there, she left me in the apartment to meet up with her boyfriend that I didn't know about. He turned out to have just been released from prison for manslaughter. Once she told me that, I told her that I didn't want to spend time with him, especially considering the circumstances of my visit. The next night, I woke up in the middle of the night to find him in the living room. She said that she thought it wouldn't matter since I was asleep. The next day, she invited her soon to be ex-husband over without telling me and then asked me to meditate their conversation once he got there. That conversation turned ugly fast, and she ended up storming out. He broke down and asked if I thought it was salvageable, and I told him that she had already moved on. Maybe not the best idea on my part, but at that point, she had shown me how vile of a person she is. My so-called friends invited me to a party, and then at the last moment, they texted the group that no one's coming and the party is cancelled. Well, they had the party that day, everyone went there. They just had decided they didn't want me there cause I was boring and not a fun person. So they told me that there was no party happening. It hurt a lot. It was a terrible day for me. This was also when I realized who were my friends and who weren't. We were supposed to go to a tour and we save our money and pulled them. Fake friends told me they had to cancel the plan because ticket prices got too high. Told me to wait a few days to get my money back. Real friends asked me why I bailed on them and were worried that I had an emergency. Turns out my fake friends didn't want me to come and instead would use my money for their booze and told everyone else that I bailed out and took my money back so everyone else would give more for their booze allowance. That friendship ended, and I also learned my fake friends were alcoholics and weren't strangers to ducking over people to get what they want. Today one of them is alive. Their alcoholism ruined their lives and some even died from it. One friend stopped replying to my texts right after we graduated from college. Like the same week we graduated. So, I was pretty much just a study buddy that they kept close to keep me helping them. Finding out they have an inner circle group chat, but I'm the only one not in it. My friends from high school all unfollowed me when I graduated college. I'm the only one who no longer lives in our hometown. The group made plans to meet and hang out. I was getting ready in the salon. A couple of friends had to back out for some reason. The other friend then made excuses of his own, and I could tell. I tried cajoling him and offer ways for him to go, but he basically decided to cancel the entire group meetup. It was my birthday. Who off? This one hurt. When I was married we had a friend group of 3 couples from our street. We went to football games, trips to the beach, and spent holidays at each other's homes. After the divorce I went traveling for a year then moved to a condo downtown in our city. I'd had lunch with the wives. After returning from traveling, I thought we were still friends. I was sitting on my second floor balcony of my new condo one night about 8 p.m. and saw them walking down the street. I said, "Hi, so good to see you." They'd all been out to dinner and were headed to another couple's apartment who had moved downtown while their house was being renovated for a quick drink. I was excited to see them and asked them to stop by on their way back to where they'd parked. I tidied up my place and anxiously awaited seeing my old pals. I was texting with one of the ladies during the wait. About 9 p.m. I saw them walking and chatting back towards my place. They couldn't see me. When they got close to my balcony they stopped talking and walked quickly and quietly by, then started laughing and talking after they passed. The one I'd been texted with while I waited sent me a text an hour later saying they were just now leaving the other friend's place and it was too late to stop by. I replied that I'd seen them. When they left I never spoke to any of them again, even though they tried to be friends on Facebook. I wasn't hurt that they couldn't stop by on short notice. It was that they made me a joke and it really hurt. Too long didn't read. Don't expect to stay friends with couples you were friends with when you were part of a couple. I wouldn't say I have fake friends, but I'm definitely the periphery friend. The majority of the time, if there isn't enough tickets or space in the car for everyone to go do something, I'm the one who gets cut out. It doesn't bother me much, but I wish they would be more mindful when talking to me about things we have done. Remember when we went to C30? Wasn't that fun? Well, no, because I wasn't invited. In those situations it usually gets awkward, or they say, hey, we would have invited you if we had the tickets, space, etc. When you lose your worth to them, for instance, you are going through a dark period in your life, then they just leave, like you are a worthless bag of dust. This was quite a few years ago. My ex and I were really friendly with another couple, did a ton of stuff together. Then they moved not far, and fairly shortly after my ex and I separated. They hung out with me for a few months, but then stopped calling. A few years later, I ran into both of them at a race, an ultra marathon, and they both pretended like they didn't know me. That was actually a really painful moment. This friend, I'll call her Mary, had kids the same age as mine. We got together for play dates pretty often, and our kids would sleep over at each other's houses for weekends. I liked Mary. We would often visit and talk while our kids were playing. One weekend, her kids had stayed at my house. The older one called her mom to see when she was coming to pick her up. I was in the room, and the kid put the phone on speaker for some reason. Mary told the kid what time she would be there and added, "You had better be waiting outside. If I have to go in and spend the next hour talking to revert him, I'm going to be really pissed." We didn't spend much time together after that. Did I overreact? Was Mary just having a bad day and not want to talk? And my personal favorite, revert him. Maybe you're just insufferable. Here's what happened. After I overheard my friend say that to her child, I simply stopped initiating contact and wasn't as available to do stuff for her. When we dropped off or picked up the kids, I smiled and waved. I'll let the kids make the plans for playdates. I no longer had time to help her with her garden or watch her kids while she went out with another friend. They were into long distance running, which is not my cup of tea. She never contacted me unless she wanted something. This had always been true, but I had not realized it. The friendship eventually fizzled out on its own, so I guess it had never been much of a friendship to begin with. I just didn't realize it until she opened my eyes. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe.